What is up everybody, I'm hoping you're all well. Just look at the artwork on this steelbook. I think it's absolutely gorgeous, don't you think? I love it. Now let's talk about this train wreck. Mulan. So Mulan is the latest Disney live-action remake of some of their classic animations and is set in ancient China during a big war, and basically every abled male is called forward to fight in this war. However, Mulan's father, because he's weak and old and fought in the wars beforehand, if he goes to war he will basically die. So Mulan takes it upon herself to take his place, despite the fact that if she's found out it will bring dishonour to her family name and could also get herself and her family killed. And just before I get into this review, I'd just like to say that I absolutely adore the original animated film. It's one of my favourite Disney movies of all time. I think it's fantastic. And while when I first heard this movie was announced and they took away the music and Mushu, I was a little bit disappointed. When I heard they were doing that to have a more honest retelling of the Mulan story, I admired Disney for doing that. I thought it was a smart idea, and when the first trailer dropped I thought that actually looked pretty decent. I was actually rather excited for this film. And after seeing it, I was just really disappointed, unfortunately. I did not have a good time with this movie. It's basically a very dull, boring, lifeless and soulless retelling of a very strong and empowering story. It's like Disney took all of the fun and good out of the original movie, like the great characters, the incredible score, all the heartfelt and powerful moments. They were all just taken out of that movie and we were just left with this. A complete boring mess. And when I say mess, I mean it feels like there are things that are actually missing out of this movie, important things that made a very big impact on the original story. For example, Mulan's decision to take her father's place in the original film felt very powerful. It felt like a very dramatic decision. It felt very emotional because this is something that she chose to do herself, because if her father does go to war he will die, so she thought that it was the best way for her to basically keep her family's name honoured. And in the original animation, the incredible montage mixed with Jerry Goldsmith's absolutely spectacular score just felt like it was a very powerful and impactful moment, like you really felt for her in this decision making. In this movie though, all you get is her pointing to the camera with the sword and then it cut into her in the armour and then riding off, and there's no emotional impact with that. There's no strength to that. It's just, alright, I'm ready to go to war now, let's go. I didn't feel any sort of bad implications to her making this decision. I don't think that's helped as well by the main actress who plays Mulan, personally for me, being pretty bland, boring and wooden in her performance. I really didn't feel any emotional attachment to her character. And to be fair, while the rest of the cast other than herself are fairly decent, none of the characters really have anything to latch onto. There's no emotional depth to them in any way. The friends that she makes in the original animation, the connection that they share, the camaraderie that they have as they're going to war, that's felt in that movie. You feel that connection with them. You feel like they are genuinely here as friends and they would die for each other. I didn't feel that in this movie. There's nothing like that there in this film. Every single character in this movie just felt bland, boring and emotionless. Even the main villains in this movie came off as very dull and unintimidating, which is a shame because the original villains in the original film were incredible. They had such a great and intimidating screen presence from the moment they are introduced to the scene where they basically let two guys go deliver a message and he says, how many people does it take to deliver a message? And the archer just goes, one, fires an arrow and it cuts to black. You're like, shit, these guys mean business, these guys are serious. You don't get that with any of the villains in this movie. And by the way, there are like two villains in this movie, like the first villains from the original movie and this witch woman. Her motivations in this film don't make any sense. Now I'm going to try and keep it as spoiler free as I can for you guys, because if you do want to see this film and if you do enjoy this film, that's great, more power to you, I'm glad you enjoy it. But honestly, her character just made no sense to me. She was basically there to cause a bit of shit for Mulan and then explain to her where the bad guys were going so that she could go there and stop them, but yet she wasn't really a good guy and she was with the bad guys, and honestly, it just made no sense to me, guys. I honestly did not like that character. I didn't see the point in her being there. And it also pointed out to me that Disney wanted to make a more honest retelling of a Mulan story, and I don't personally know the original Mulan story. I don't know if there's any fantasy elements or anything like that, but surely if you've got a witch and this magical phoenix that appears every now and then for no discernible reason, why not just have the music? Why not just have Mushu? Why not add those elements of fun that were in the original film into this movie? Because without any of those elements, I just found myself getting bored throughout the runtime. Even the action sequences, while fairly well shot and the wire work's really good, you've seen action sequences like that done better in Crouching Tiger and Hidden Dragon and House of the Flying Daggers and stuff like that. You've seen things like this done better in better films. The score felt very uninspired as well, especially when compared to Jerry Goldsmith's absolutely astonishing score for the original film. It just did nothing to heighten any of the emotional moments. It did nothing to add any intensity to the action sequences. There's just really nothing going for this movie, and it's a real shame because I really wanted to like it. Like, I was genuinely excited for this film, and I honestly, after finishing it, I just felt disappointed. I felt really let down by this one. And my biggest issue with this movie, despite everything I said, my biggest issue with this movie is the fact that it's established from the start that Mulan has this sort of chi ability, and that she has to hide this ability, but that's the reason she can do all of these amazing things throughout the entire film. Whereas in the original, she's just a normal girl who trains, who works hard and gets to become this very powerful and inspiring woman, especially to young women who could look at the original and, you know, think, oh, if I work hard enough, if I train hard enough, I could be like her, I could become as strong and as courageous and brave as her. Whereas in this movie, you have to be born special, not work hard to become special. And it's a message that I loved about the original Mulan, that young women would have someone to look up to in that aspect, whereas in this movie it doesn't have that. It's saying you have to be born special. You can't work hard to become as strong and courageous as Mulan. You have to be born like it, otherwise you're a no one. And honestly, I'm pretty sure that's not what the movie intended in any way, shape or form, but when you compare that to the original message that the original movie had set out beforehand, and they gave women this inspiring, strong character to look up to, then what is the point in your character? Especially when the lead performance just doesn't really have any weight to them as well. Like, I didn't feel anything for her. Overall, guys, this movie is a very dull, uninteresting, boring mess with uninteresting characters, very boring action sequences if I'm being completely honest. And honestly, I just say watch original animation. Like, I was so excited for this movie. I'm so disappointed that I didn't like it, but I had to be honest in my review for you guys. I honestly did not like this film, and I can't recommend you guys watch it. I paid an extra £20 to get the premium access to watch this film and get a review out for you guys, and honestly, it wasn't worth it. It really wasn't. So, for all those reasons, I have to give Mulan 1 star. So, Mulan, have you guys seen it at all? What are your thoughts on it? Like I said, if you do enjoy this movie, more power to you. I'm really glad that you found enjoyment with it. For those of you who didn't, what didn't you like about it? What do you love about the original movie? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comment section below. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and if you want to see more videos just like this one, then subscribe to my channel for more. Thanks again for watching, you guys are awesome, and I will see you all in the next video.